Starting with item 7, the performance exceptions report for October 2020. Peter Ryan presenting this one. Welcome to the table, Peter. So are there any opening remarks that you wanted to make before we move to any questions?
I'd just like to draw your attention to the fact that before we get into the exceptions, we're actually performing at quite a high level. If you look at the overall achievement diagram, we're up around the 80% mark. Basically, the bottom line of this report is that we're down 6% on last year, so 86 down to 80. Given the circumstances of the COVID year, and given that a lot of those exceptions are around international visitors and customers at our venues, we're actually performing at the same level that we did last year. So look, that's the opening to the document. It's also worth stressing that during this turbulent year, we managed to keep the lights on. That's a key point. Okay? All right. So as I said, levels of service dropped down to 80-odd%. Now, we have had that result in some other years that were not COVID years. So the new exceptions are Akaroa Museum visitor numbers. There are some changes to the resource efficiency levels of service caused by the COVID lockdown budget being changed. And the art gallery has a visitor number issue as well, which is not surprising. We don't have tourists. So that's the overview of the level of service results. Capital is a positive forecast. Very high results on both the watch list and the cycleways. Ruth will follow with the operational details around that, but overall the performance level is high. In fact, it's at a kind of historic high. And that's really the high-level overview. From there, we move into the actual level of service exceptions themselves. As you know, I don't normally line by line those. It's on an exception basis. If I can answer a question on the spot, I will. If I can't, we'll take it away and report back rather than waste the committee's time. So look, that's the overview, and if anyone has any questions about a specific level of service or level of service comment, I'll be happy to address them or take them back for research.
All right, Peter, thanks very much indeed for those remarks. Are there any questions on this report? Yanni.
We finally got the memo on water supply and leaks, which I was just wondering, in terms of these performance targets, we've got the 24-hour for urgent and the 3-day time frame for non-urgent.
Yep.
And we're about 36% of that target.
Yep.
But it's not reflected in the performance report, and I was just trying to understand how we have ongoing visibility of those sorts of response time targets.
The reason that they're not here is because they're not levels of service. We measure a lot of things that are not levels of service. So the short answer is, if you want to see that in these reports, they need to be levels of service to do that.
So where the report goes into...
Could you give me a reference on...
Yeah, sure, page 23. So we've got the performance around median time from notification to resolution of urgent call-outs. Should be under 5 hours. So we do have some response time targets.
Yes.
But we don't seem to have... We've got a general satisfaction survey results as being the way we're measuring the other things. And we're still waiting, even though we know we're failing. So I'm just trying to understand, do we need to be more explicit in the reporting around fixing the leaks once they're reported? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not entirely sure where this is going, but I think that what you're looking for isn't actually a level of service. It'll be measured somewhere at a technical level, but I don't think it's a measure that is a level of service measure, and that's what this report is.
So it's a KPI.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to understand, at the information we're getting at this level, if it doesn't reflect what's happening with our KPIs, how do we pick up on it at a governance level?
When the activity plan for water comes to you, you can ask for that to be made a level of service.
Right.
That's perfectly legitimate.
Okay.
So what you see here is the tip of a much bigger suite of measures that we don't report all the time to everybody. But if there is one that you think should be taken from that group and put in here, it's easily fixed in the activity plan by saying that's a level of service we'd like to see reported.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, I seek advice from the chair and the organisation, but I do think we need to have a measure at a high level about the water reactive service requests and our response times and response rates.
So, Peter, can we refer that? We've got the Three Waters activity plans coming up in the LTP development workshops. Can we refer this matter to that workshop so that we actively consider it there?
Absolutely, and in keeping with a customer focus, it actually makes perfect sense for that to become a level of service.
Yep, so the right place to have that discussion will be when we discuss the activity plan, the relevant activity plan. That's coming up between now and the end of the year, so if we can refer this matter to that discussion, we can have a proper and well-supported discussion about it there.
I'll brief Helen Beaumont in the meantime.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any further questions on this report? Jimmy and then Mike. Jimmy.
Yeah, on page 32, I just want to know, particularly regarding the telephone inquiry. Here our target is less than 90 seconds, but actually it's 133 seconds. That's average or is average?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah, my question particularly in October, because the resident have some issue, ask me what's the status. I ring the 5 minutes, no any response. 5 minutes, actually 108 kind of almost 300 seconds, no response. Two times.
Okay.
In the evening, yes.
That
So
result will
just
be an
want-
average, and that will mean that there are some calls that went longer than that. But I can't speak to the detail, but Sarah Newman can. I can ask her for a summary back to that question, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
That would be helpful. Thank you. Mike.
Thank you. Page 22, the last exception down there, the actual says no data is available, as this is only calculated at the end of the year. But the last report had all the last 3 months data attached to it, so I'm just wondering why we're suddenly saying it's no longer available.
I'm sorry, Mike, but I don't have the same page numbering you do. If you could give me
It's 12.0.7.
under what activity?
Water.
Water?
Water supply networks.
Okay.
It's the third one of the...
So there's consumption of drinking water per day?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So it says there's no data available, but the previous report has all the data available.
Okay. What I think they're trying to express is that no final result is available, but monthly data will exist. You're right.
Yeah.
So you would like to see how it's tracking. Is that what
Yeah,
you're
well,
saying?
if we've been tracking it for all the other reports, I don't know why we suddenly stopped tracking and say it's a yearly.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back to the team, and when I brief Helen, I'll mention that one as well.
Thanks.
Yep. So let's go back to the team, as you say. If you can furnish us with the information that would have been available, or Mike is saying would have been available in the previous
Yes.
versions of the report for this report, and if we can make sure it's included as required in future. Thank you. Any further questions? Yanni.
I just wanted to check when the resident survey results are going to be reported.
They're normally reported in late April or early May.
So,
They're conducted through to March.
so for the water performance, do we have to wait until then before we know what those targets are?
If you want to know the end, yes, the end of year result. The reason for that is that they're conducted at the same time every year on the grounds that you get continuity of data. They've been conducted for about 20 years, and we do them at the same time so that you don't get seasonal variation in the data. So I can't really alter the timing of that program, but it does come in, I should point out, at just the right time to inform the LTP or annual plan as you're about to adopt it. So you've got the freshest possible community data when you consider your final long-term plans and annual plans. So that was the reason for that timing.
And that worked particularly well for the annual plan this year. The reporting of those results directly informed our considerations for the annual plan, and that's exactly the same for the LTP in 2021. Sugani, that answers the question? Yep, great. All right, no further questions? So can I have a mover for this report? Sam, seconded Mike. All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you. All right, so now let's move